I think what's interesting is also the heavy FDA regulation, right? Because when we think about brands that create products and sell products to consumers, like that heavy FDA regulation is what protects the consumers ultimately. However, in cases like this, where we see they're unique, but still it's worth noticing that it actually kind of stalled the innovations. Hi, welcome to the K Edit. I'm Helen.
Hi, I'm Sarah.
Today, we're going to talk about something really fun. So it's the middle of summer.
Yes.
Hot right now. And I thought it would be kind of fun to talk about something that was a little bit of a controversy in the US back in May when Olive Young first opened, which is sunscreen. So sunscreen, when it comes to K-beauty and the global market, there's a little bit of a friction. So I thought that was very interesting. So I brought the topic up since it's a very hot summer day.
Yes, you need sunscreen.
So why were people so upset about this whole Olive Young launching in the States situation?
I heard that there are a lot of talk about this difference of products, especially sun, right? What you see in Korea and Olive Young US is different. So people are like, what is the deal? Why is it different? That kind of thing.
Right. So I saw there were a ton of content on TikTok and Instagram. A lot of people were upset. And when I dug into it, it was mostly because of every country has their own regulation. And when Olive Young, launched in the US, they had to change some of the formulas in order to be able to sell in the US. And the biggest issue was the sunscreen.
Yes, sunscreen, even OEM, ODM manufacturers in Korea, if client is from the US, they always say sunscreen is OTC, right? We heard about it so many times. So we can talk about why it's such an issue. Okay, so what is the big difference about the US sunscreen?
So the biggest difference for sunscreen in the US and in most other countries is that sunscreen is categorized as cosmetics, whereas in the US, it's categorized as a drug. So it's an OTC, over-the-counter product, which means it has much more strict regulations. So any type of new innovations, takes a lot longer time to adapt and come into the market for the consumers.
So that's why US consumers think that sun products from Korea, Europe, Canada, Australia, they're all better than what you get in the US. And it's not the product that matters, it's the law. And the law hasn't been updating this new technology for a long time. But this year, finally, after more than 20 years, FDA just approved this new ingredient that is considered the latest UV filter. On June 9th, actually, they announced this. So the US consumers can have better sun products, finally.
And the reason why US consumers really preferred the Korean sunscreen over the US was because using those new ingredients, the sunscreen comes out less with the white cast. It's easier to apply. It's actually more effective when covering the sun as well. So there is quite a quality difference between the sunscreens that exist in the two different countries.
Yeah, so the ingredient that FDA just approved is called bemotrizinol. It's called BMT. It has very wide spectrum of coverage like UVA, UVB, and it doesn't break away under sun. It has better feel, no white cast. That finally, it will be available in the US.
So what is the whole big deal about Korean sunscreen versus US sunscreen?
Because of this regulation, OTC is very difficult, right? It's drug. So the innovation-wise, because of the restriction, I think that it is more difficult to come up with a new product type, new formula, new technology. But then in Korea, we have variety of choice in terms of new ingredient, the latest UV filter innovation, as well as the technology. Not just chemical, but the physical type. I noticed that there are a lot of good, smooth ones available because of the nano ingredient usage for the physical type, as well as they apply some kind of special coating. We're enjoying all this latest technology versus US. There hasn't been that much of innovation.
But still, it's worth noticing that it actually kind of stalled the innovations, right? Because it's such a big hurdle to jump through for these brands, so much money, so much research that they're like, we're not going to focus on innovations in this department. While in other countries such as Asia and Europe, because the regulations are not considered as drugs, the gap started to become really, really big.
Yes.
So I think it's kind of interesting to think about, like, how do regulations work for and against
Yes,
consumers?
exactly. Yeah, the beauty of new innovation is good for you in that sense.
Yeah, so I think it's really interesting that this sunscreen topic came up because I thought it was very random in the beginning, but when I looked into it, I noticed that there are a lot of reasons to why there's such a gap in sunscreen technology advancement between the two hemispheres. And when I lived in the States, sun protection is not necessarily as emphasized as it is in Korea. Like, Korea is very sensitive, right?
Like you have to wear it every day.
Yeah, you can't even be indoors. Like, you have to wear sunscreen
Yes.
indoors because
Yes.
the sun rays come through the window, and it's probably also a cultural thing too, right?
Yeah.
Because back in the day in Asia, having brighter skin, I mean, even today, like, having brighter skin is kind of the desired aesthetics, and therefore there's a lot more emphasis on sunscreens and protecting your skin from the sun, and it's really wide known. It's been widely known for a very long time that sun rays are very damaging. So I think everybody's, trying really hard to protect their skin from damage and also trying to protect their skin tone from darkening. Whereas, like, in the US, a lot of my friends really enjoy tanning. People don't really like putting on sunscreen as much. Maybe they'll put on like tanning lotion, and the whole awareness and education around sun damage really, I think, didn't start until maybe a decade ago. But each year, I can feel more and more that consumers are becoming more educated. They're a lot more aware of the harm from the sun and UV rays. People are becoming more and more educated and more conscious about protecting their skin from the sun.
Yeah, but it's so ironic because skin cancer is one of the most common cancer in the US. And I've heard that 1 out of 5 Americans experience skin cancer once in their lifetime. So it's extremely important to care about your sunscreen product.
Yeah, so I think it's, that's the cause and effect. Reason why there's so much skin cancer in the US is probably because there was a lack of sun protection. So now that there's awareness that this is very damaging and harmful to your body, sun protection is becoming bigger and bigger market in the US as well. And more people are aware and they're adding it into their everyday routine. Whereas before, it wasn't really that much of an emphasis on it.
Yeah, and also it's not just burn. Skin burn is UVB, and UVA is aging. It has a lot to do with your skin health and your look, right? Overall, it's a blessing of technology, right?
Yeah, I think what's interesting is also the heavy FDA regulation, right? Because when we think about brands that create products and sell products to consumers, like, that heavy FDA regulation is what protects the consumers ultimately. However, in cases like this, where we see they're unique, so seeing that this has become a whole ordeal, how do you think that's going to shift some of the sunscreen manufacturing, for US and Korea?
Well, now with this new approval, it doesn't mean that all these brands can enter US with their existing product right away. Of course, it's still OTC, so there's still some barrier. But I think the beneficiary will be OEM, ODM manufacturing companies because they have accumulated technology and experience with all these different type of latest UV filters. The US brands will knock on doors of Korean manufacturers, respecting that, I think.
Yeah, so sunscreen is one category that we can probably expect to see manufacturing growth in the next coming years.
Exactly, yes.
It's not ideal to add another step to your routine. Putting toner, lotion, sunscreen, this, that. Like, I'm a very simple girl. I like to do, the least amount of effort for the maximum amount of results. So for me, I personally prefer to use products that have sunscreen in them. So, I like to use Cushion Compact, or I like to use tinted sunscreen so I can kind of kill two birds with one stone. Is there like, how do you use sunscreen in your routine?
I bought this sun ampule. It's quite popular these days. So sun serum, sun ampule. So I mix with my foundation. It's quite nice because it has a little bit of shine to it. So these days I mix products.
So let's kind of recap our conversation that we had today about sunscreen. Is there something you would like to say?
Well, with the new approved formula, I wish to see more products coming from the US brand as well as the K-beauty brand available in the US.
And I think this sunscreen was such a good example of being aware of, do regulations work for or against the consumers? Obviously, it's never going to be a black or white answer, but it was just something interesting that I haven't thought previously about. But if one thing is for sure, I think that it's that when the borders become, less and less solid between the countries and we become more of a global kind of world together in the digital age, the innovations will, push further and further. And so I think in the long run, that's good for us, the consumers, because we'll have access to better technologies, even if that's not coming from our own country.
Yep, very excited. It was a good conversation today.
Yes, in this hot summer day.
Yes.
So that's it on our sunscreen conversation today at the K Edit. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any more questions or comments regarding the sunscreen topic, please leave it in the comments below. If you want more perspective on K-beauty, please visit our site and please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Have a great summer. Bye.
Bye.